Please be seated. Remind you, council and audience, to please turn off your cell phones. And council, please turn on your microphones. We'll have roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Scalisi.
Here.
Councilor Baker.
Here.
Councilor Becker.
Here.
Councilor Quinlan.
Here.
Councilor Sherman.
Okay, you've all had a chance to see the minutes of the last meeting on June 25th. I need a motion to approve or corrections.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. June 25th.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll move to visitors and delegation. We have nothing on the agenda, but we offer our citizens the opportunity to speak. But I need to read this to everybody. Citizens are encouraged to speak to the council on items that are not on the agenda. There's a 3-minute time limit per person unless otherwise noted by the mayor. Please note that no formal action will be taken on these items during the time due to the open meetings law provision. However, they may be placed on a future posted agenda if action is required. Is there anybody that has anything they'd like to bring to council? Yes, I would.
Jeanette Corbin, 16200 Morgan County Road, 28.5 Brush, Colorado. Just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. We did bring down our petition for review for recall of a council person that sits on the council. Just an FYI, and I don't know why she's here. She was seen going around the block, so I know maybe she got sick or something, but I wish she would have been here. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Excuse me, I got my glasses.
Hello, my name is Abdi Rosari, and I live within my body and have since birth. Mr. Rick Bain, Miss Vicki Quinlan, Mr. Heath Becker, Miss Marlene Baker, Miss Kimberly Dykes, she's not here, and Mr. Rick Bain. You guys are now formally served. There's been a lawsuit filed against you, and I would like to.
City attorney, please.
City Attorney?
Could you tell me your name again? I'm sorry.
My name is Abdi.
Can you spell it?
Sure, A-B-A-D-E.
And Rosari?
Irizarry, I-R-I-Z-A-R-Y.
We can't accept service for Kimberly Dykes because she no longer is a member of the council.
Will you accept service for Rick Baines?
Yeah, he's a mayor, we can do that. And do you have a set of these for each of these defendants you're serving?
Actually, I do.
It looks like there are 5 sets here, is that right?
Which one for the person?
So tell me again who you're serving? Rick Payne,
Vicki Quinlan?
Vicki Quinlan, Heath
Heath
Becker,
Becker.
Marlene Baker.
Baker.
Okay,
And Ms. Dykes, but she's no longer here.
no, we can't accept service for her. Okay, very good.
Okay, any other comments from the audience?
Good evening. I think most of you know who I am. My name is Eric Brandt, and I'm still living inside my body, thankfully. Tonight, I am here to talk to you a little bit. The reason why I came out here is that apparently your chief of police has resigned. And I saw the news media on that, and it's all flowery, and he gave so many years of his service. But what I want to make sure happens is, for one thing, one of the legacies that Ms. Anderson is leaving behind is that she has managed to work hard to get rid of bad police. She's not against the police, just like I'm not against the police. She's against bad police. and she's gotten rid of some bad police. And then the city's continuing to misbehave, that's fine. Like I said, your education will only be as expensive as you make it. And I do appreciate that you hired Mr. Rice to represent you. I've worked with him in the Westminster case, so we already kind of know how much that's going to cost you. But now we have Chief Turterson, who resigns suddenly, packs up his house, and moves out of town in the middle of the night. And I want to make sure that you know why he did that. I want to make sure that you know that Monty Torres, I have a recorded phone call of him telling a woman who's asking for a process to investigate police misconduct on the chief, laughing out loud at her and saying, oh, do you want me to put in a process to investigate the chief for misconduct? No, I'm not going to do that. Well, maybe you're going to do that, because maybe I'm not going to settle with you if you don't. So you need to audit and take care of these misconduct issues within your city. Travis Anderson is not leaving town to spend more time. He should have been thinking about his family, spending time with his family when he was banging that chick. He's resigning so he doesn't have to face the music on a sex assault scandal with a defendant. And you should be appalled by that. The legacy Miss Anderson leaves, if she leaves, is one of trying to get rid of corruption like Travis Anderson. I want to know why the media is not covering the fact that Susanna Quintana was fired. Detective Susanna Quintana has criminal charges for evidence mishandling. We are so hot to talk about Miss Anderson. Why aren't we focusing on our internal problems? You have 2 detectives that have been terminated, one of them with criminal charges for evidence mishandling out of 3 detectives? I think you need a process for investigating misconduct, Mr. Torres. And I don't think that it's a laughable matter. You should be ashamed of yourself. So, our case continues in federal court. And now you have something that I'm probably not going to reach a settlement agreement with you unless you have a viable process in place for investigating police misconduct. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else have any comments from the audience? If not, we'll move on. Under management, we need approved final settlement with Premier Earthworks and Infrastructure, Inc. for the completion of English Water Line project. And Joanne is going to speak to that.
Yes, the English Water line project did get finished right towards the end of June. That project has been completed. We have put a notice in the paper 2 weeks in a row for final settlement on this project for Premier Earthworks and Infrastructure. We did not have anybody come forward and put a lien against their property or say they had not been paid. And so at this time, we're asking that council approve the final settlement for Premier Earthworks and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Joanne. Okay, council, I need a motion to approve or deny the final settlement for Premier Earthworks and Infrastructure, Inc.
I make a motion that we approve the final settlement for Premier Earthworks and Infrastructure, Inc.
A second? I have a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Counselor Becker?
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Scalisi?
Yes.
Counselor Sherman? Yes.
Okay, next order of business is a proclamation, 2018-4 for Parks and Recreation Week. Community Service Director Schwint, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. The National Parks and Recreation Association always designates July as Parks and Recreation Month. So with that, I'd like to read this proclamation and for council and have the Mayor Pro Tem sign it at the end. Designation of July as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Brush, Colorado, and whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreational services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Brush recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreational resources. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Brush that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Brush. Approved and adopted on July 9th, 2018.
Great, thank you, Lance.
Thanks.
I'd ask the counselor to introduce the motion to approve or deny the adoption and reading of the proclamation.
I move we approve the adoption of the proclamation 2018-4 for Parks and Recreation Week.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
That starts next week, Lance?
Well, the Parks and Rec is the whole month is Parks and Rec month, but next week is our Parks and Recreation Week, and Monday through Saturday we have various events going on throughout throughout all of our parks, and just to kind of highlight everything that we do offer to the citizens.
Okay. So we have a motion and second. Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Becker?
Yes.
Counselor Quinlan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Scalisi?
Yes.
Counselor Sherman? Yes. Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to finance.
Okay, we have a change in the total amount, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve bills from June 22nd through July 9th of 2018 in the amount of $709,778.14. We are going to review a reimbursement.
Okay,
I second that.
motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Quinlan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Scalisi?
Yes.
Counselor Sherman? Yes. Counselor Baker?
Yes.
Counselor Becker?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to staff reports. We'll start with Joanne.
I just have one real quick item this evening. The auditors were here 3 days in June and did do a review and audit of our books. Sometime towards the end of the month, probably the second council meeting of July or the first council meeting in August, the Scott Zalbo from Lauer Zalbo and Company will be in to have a review with Finance Committee. And we'll make sure you all are aware of that, and any of you are more than welcome to come to that meeting.
Thank you, Joanne. Police Department, Corey?
Not much to report, Mayor. Last few weeks have been filled with preparedness for the rodeo and the parade. And then, of course, last week was the events. Kind of everything went off real smooth. We had a lot of help from the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff's Office sent down, I believe, 5 cadets, a sergeant, and a patrol deputy to help us at the rodeo itself. And that was on all 3 nights. So we had a lot of assistance. Everything went real smooth. As far as any real issues over there, everything was real minor, and everything went very well. So.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you for being there.
So we'll go to Parks and Recreation, Lance?
Just a little bit more on Parks and Rec Week next week, just kind of go down our schedule. On Monday, we will have free golf over at the golf course throughout the day. In the afternoon, we'll have wiffle ball and a 3-on-3 tournament over at Sunset Park. On Tuesday will be free swim at our municipal swimming pool. And then Tuesday evening, we are actually going to be showing a movie, so all the kids can bring out their floaties into the pool and kind of hang out, and we have kind of a blow-up screen for a movie for the kids. On Wednesday morning, we'll have a community walk and also a community breakfast over at the JC building. That afternoon, we will have pickleball and cornhole tournaments over at Pettis Park in the evening. And then on Thursday, we will have a horseshoe tournament and also a mud volleyball tournament over there at Memorial Park in Doty Pond. And we will also have a band play on the stage area right there by the pond. And then Friday, we will end up having a movie over at Sunset Baseball Field with all the baseball kids and softball kids and something baseball themed. And then Saturday, we have a disc golf tournament going on over at our disc golf course. And we also have a golf tournament, Mike Whalert Memorial Tournament going on over at the golf course too. So busy week. Invite everybody out. All the activities that we are having, except for the Mike Whalert Golf Tournament, are free to everyone, and the disc golf tournament too. So we invite everybody out and kind of see what we have to offer, and I think it'll be a really good time.
Very good. Thanks for putting all that together. Marketing, Tyler.
Yes, sir, and council, just one quick update. I hadn't really mentioned this before. I'm sure most of you are probably aware, but the Morgan County Tourism Panel, where there's a 1.9% lodging tax for all the different hotels around the county, is put into a fund through the county, and they have a panel in place which is represented by different hotels as well as Chamber of Commerce and the city, both Fort Morgan and the city of Brush, and I sit on that panel. And so it's a great resource for marketing Morgan County and all the different things that we have here to the region around, but also within. And we put together a strategic plan earlier this year where we wanted to lay out just how we can more effectively utilize the funds that we have. And so during that time, we had a new position come in, or a new person come into the position who takes care of all the marketing specific to that panel. And she's done a really great job. Emily Goggins is her name, but she's really utilized social media a lot to educate a lot of people as to what's happening in Brush and around Morgan County. So I encourage all the community members who get into social media, Facebook, Twitter, that kind of thing, to utilize that to find out what different happenings are going on around the county. So that's it for now.
Very good. Thank you, Tyler. Fire Department, Ted.
So we've been pretty busy lately. We hosted the Colorado State Firefighters Association State Convention, which went very well. We did some live fire training in actually one of the buildings at Ebenezer, and that was well received, and big thanks to all the folks that made that happen. Then 4th of July, we ran into some unexpected challenges with the fireworks. Company that was to deliver our fireworks went out of business and didn't tell anybody. And so the day before the shoot, Ray and Mark Miller had to make a trip to Wyoming to go get fireworks so that we could put on that fireworks show. I think they did a wonderful job recovering, and I think the show went off as well as could be expected based on the issues we ran into. So I think overall things lately have been going pretty good. Some challenges for sure, but we're getting through it. The building, if anybody, and I'm sure everybody's paying attention to what's going on over at the firehouse, we got backfilled in the foundations today. So you'll be seeing some underground sewer and electrical, things like that are going to start going in, and hope to see a floor poured in the next week or two. And the building itself, the steel should be delivered first week of August. So until then, it's going to kind of be plain, but come the first week of August, things should be going up in the air. So we'll see a big change. Ray's got something to present as well. We're talking about social media. There's an opportunity for the fire department to get an app, a phone app, put together. So he's got some information on that.
So I'll just hand one of these out to each of the council members that are here. So when we were out at FDIC for our week-long training, part of it at the end is the trade show. And we came across a company called the firedepartmentapp.com, and they create mobile phone apps for iPhone and Android users, not only for fire departments but law enforcement. And so we got to talking with them, and what they do is they create the app for us, and we kind of pick and choose what we would like in our phone app. And they tie in any social media accounts that you have into your phone app. So anytime you post something on Twitter or Facebook, it automatically ties in with the phone app. And they can also tie in with the National Weather Service. So anytime we have some kind of warning or watch, it goes on to our Facebook page, the phone app. So not everybody's a social media user like Facebook or Twitter or things like that. So it's an opportunity for us to relay to the community what's going on with the fire department and things that are happening within the community. We can tie in, if we choose to, with dispatch, so it'll put our runs out that we're on, or if there's any road closures or anything like that can come across the phone app. So if you just kind of look through there, so like on the second page is the requested features that we'd like to see on the app if we go forward with it. And then I believe it's page 4 is the cost breakdown. So the initial fee for everything to get this up and going is $18,010, and they're giving us a $13,000 discount, so a 72% discount. So for us, for the first year and here on out, will be $4,995 to get the app up and going, and then for the yearly maintenance and any changes that we make to it. So then if you go to the page that says Brush Volunteer Fire Department at the top with the picture of the app, that's kind of what when you open the app would show up on there, and we can put different pictures and stuff on there. And then it just goes to show you when something's posted, how it shows up on the app. And then how it'll put the briefing out on your phone. And so that's something as a department we talked about different ways to reach out to our community to make sure that they're informed of what's going on within the fire department and any warnings or anything that are going on, and that's something we would like to pursue. So if there's any questions in regards to this, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Is that cost just for the fire department, or could that include the police department? Or
That's just the fire department.
Just the fire department?
Yep.
Does that include weather warnings?
Yep.
Staff will look at that, and then we'll bring back recommendations to council.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, City Clerk Andrea.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, Administrator Monte.
Okay, just a couple items. We heard earlier, and I think everyone was aware, the police chief has resigned. And the recruitment and selection process, you might remember, the last time we did this, it took 4 to 6 months. And so typically what happens, I'll bring in the process and explain it to council, the direction that we're gonna go and how we're gonna advertise for those type of things. Our HR committee's already had a meeting this morning, and we're starting to work on that. So I imagine by next meeting, maybe the following meeting, you'll have more information on that. Okay. In regards to the fire department building and the project there, one thing I also want to bring up was that it is on target as far as being under budget right now, or at budget. So no major new things going on with it that we're aware of. And as far as we're tracking, it's probably gonna be around October timeframe that we think we're gonna have an open house. Okay. The other thing is, on the agenda is an update. And so we have a PowerPoint for that. And we're gonna have to dim the lights to get a better view of the actual PowerPoint. And I'll present from down there. Okay. Okay, if everyone takes a look at the PowerPoint. Council, a year ago, a little over a year ago, you guys worked on a priority list for city staff to work off of. And so a lot of these things that we're going to talk about, they go directly back to the actual priorities that city council set over a year ago. So the reason I'm bringing this up now is just to really show a lot of the projects that we're working on, but also for council, remember in the next 30 days, we're probably going to call for a special meeting, and that's going to be a planning meeting so we can start working on the priorities for the upcoming year. Because we have to start now understanding the direction council wants us to go, so that when we move forward with our budget, that we're keeping all those things in mind, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit 3 departments tonight, and then at the next meeting I'll hit 3 more. Then after that we'll have our meeting. So this is giving you a little bit of information over 2 meetings, and you'll get a better idea of where we're at. The Brush Agri Park Development Project, that's the old feedlot, so it's coming along pretty well. And you're probably aware, you should be aware of the work that's being done out there now. We gave them preliminary approval to do some dirt work out there, just preparing things. Those are the pictures that you see there. They're cleaning up the feedlot very well. It still has to go through a special use permit. There's also a subdivision process that has to go through. We're working on those, and in the next 30 to 60 days, you'll see activity on both of those. And that was the #1 priority that council gave us last year. So we're moving that direction. Partnering for Progress, and this is under marketing, under Tyler. He's directing a lot of these different things that are happening on his list here. Partnering for Progress is where we have multiple entities within Brush or around Brush that are working together. They're looking at housing issues, child care issues, workforce, recreation and things to do in Brush, and economic development efforts. That's what there's been a series of meetings. Tyler's going to have more of those meetings. But we feel that the only way we can make a big difference in the Brush community is if we have different entities partnering together to make things happen. So an example would be the school district. If they did choose to do daycare in the future, that would help out the community. So we don't know what direction the school district's going to go, but they will have some modulars that are freed up in a little over a year, I believe it is. And so there could be some progress in regards to child care. On the housing end of things, the city council, the extension of the incentives for new housing, that's still going on. And so next council meeting, you'll see a list of those active permits that, for example, on Howell Avenue, there's a 4-plex being constructed. Over near Jennifer Circle, there's another house that's being put in out there. And then also near there is potentially a senior housing unit that will have up to, I believe it's 41 units for more senior type housing. And that helps us out too, because there are seniors that own houses. They're wanting to go to senior housing, so that will loosen up another house within the community for someone with a family or someone else that needs a place to live. Working on the city website, make some improvements there. Maintaining the site and buildings inventory. That's important for any business that might come to town that wants to expand. They have a good inventory list to look at. Marketing's continue to work with summer events, whether it's rodeo or even helping out the recreation department with Parks and Rec Week or any other events, always helping there. One thing that we do, because we have an ongoing priority of economic development, there's the Economic Development Stakeholders Group. The Economic Development Stakeholders Group, they meet every month, except for sometimes at Christmas. We opt not to have a meeting during that week. But the Economic Development Stakeholders Group, it's a lot of different entities that get together, the county, the school district, the hospital, Morgan County Economic Development, to name a few, the library district. They all get together and they're kind of a thinking pool and trying to figure out how do we keep enhancing economic development and bringing businesses into the community. Also, grant research and application. This is, for example, the READY grant. When we did the READY grant, which brought in $150,000, that's to help with the Brush Agri Park. That was majority of Tyler's coordination, and then a few others of us got together to help pull that package together. But that's some of the grant work that Tyler does, and it's really paying off. So, and it will really pay off once we get some more businesses at the Brush Agri Park. So that'll have a lot of efforts from the stakeholders group, from marketing and economic development, city staff, and we'll start seeing more jobs in the area. That's the target. Next slide. Public Works, a lot of different work happening around town right now. So we're calling it maintenance mode because a lot of maintenance is going on. The maintenance mode is city tree trimming, and that's in the city trees that we call in the little green strips along some of the parts of town. Those are city trees, and they're trimming those. They can't get to every single tree every year, so they typically look and pick a street or two and say we're going to focus efforts on these streets. Unless something else comes up somewhere else that we're not aware of and it's a more of an emergency, then we'll go take care of another tree somewhere else. The crack sealing of streets, a lot of that's been done already. They have a little bit more to do, and I think most of that's going to be in the central part of town or over on the west side, because last year they did focus a lot on the south side and over on the east side. Standard asphalt patching, those type of things. There's a few street improvement projects that we'll show you at the end. There will be a series of pictures that show you what type of maintenance going on around town, so we can plan for it, get the information out, because when we start working on streets, one is we've got to make sure fire department's aware of what streets are closed, PD should be aware of it, and then also the neighbors, we put out posters and everything so that they're aware of what's going on, so that when they can't park there for a day or two, that they're very aware of it, and creates less complaints. The water department increased backflow prevention and cross-connection control inspections, and that's just more of a public health type thing, making sure that water can't get back into our system whenever there's a drop in water pressure. Wastewater, stormwater, solid waste, everything right now is pretty routine operations, and things in those areas are going fairly well. Next slide. These are the pictures I was showing you where the work's going to occur. The writing on there is pretty small, but chip seal, what that is that's the heavier aggregate that's in the oil. So if you go to Cambridge Street, you know, the south part of Cambridge, you'll see that was done a couple years ago. You'll see a little heavier aggregate there. That's one place that when you look at it, a street years ago had a lot of cracks in it. It costs a lot to replace a street, so this crack fill, you put that down, you get 5 to 7 more years out of the street. So before you have to do a lot of maintenance on it. So did I say crack fill or chip seal? Chip seal. The picture over here on the top right, that's down here on Clayton Street, right before the railroad crossing. You might see where it's been alligatoring, a lot of small cracks in there. So they're going to put that crack fill material, or chip seal material over there, and that'll dress that up pretty nice and maintain it pretty well. Industrial Park Road, that's a crossover by Wendy's, goes out to the school district. The picture on the top is probably the Chinese restaurant, on the little rooftop on the bottom picture, that's the Chinese restaurant right there, and across from it's the Tomahawk. So that stretch in there, a lot of heavy truck traffic, so we're gonna put down the chip seal and improve that a little bit. On the left side, that's the rest of Cambridge. So we got one section of Cambridge a couple years ago. We're going to get the north section now up to Mill Street. Next slide. Fog sealing, this is a light oiling that we do, and I can't really see the streets on there. It's the center part of town, so I see Turner and what's the other, and Edmonds. Those right there, that's the real thin oil. It kind of rejuvenates the asphalt a little bit, reverses the oxidation process a little bit. So that usually you do that like once every couple years, and it only lasts for a season, but it's preservation type work. Next slide. The slurry seal, this is the most expensive process that we use, and the aggregate's a little finer and a little bit more oil. This is also, sometimes it gives another 7+ years of life expectancy to some of these streets. But we focused over near the Eagle gas station, the little piece of Edmonds right there, that the one that turns right there. So that right there is going to be slurry sealed, and then from the other side, if you look at this one, the one on the left, that's also Edmonds Street. This is all where the stormwater line was put in a couple years ago. I guess it's 2 years, last year, 2 years ago.
2 years.
2 years ago. And they went in there and patched it and everything, so there's a big patch down it. So this slurry seal will go right over the top of it, really dress it up, and it'll be very smooth again as well. But it's supposed to take out a lot of the low spots, those type of things, because once you put in that stormwater line, it's a 60-inch stormwater line, a lot of settling occurred in different areas. So those are the slurry seal projects. Next slide. Public works, some administrative projects, the industrial user agreements. Those are, we have 2 or 3 larger entities that would like to come onto the city wastewater system and or water system. So we do special industrial user agreements with them, utility agreements. And so Dell's working on those. He's working, partially working on the Brush Agro Park development. And he's also starting to do the planning for 2019. One's a stormwater pond over at the English feedlot. One is street paving on Neural Street from South Bruce to Germania. And some of these come from like Germania Street, Neural Street from South Bruce to Germania. That project right there, that was when we did the ballot issue years ago, the 2A. Dan, I think you were on that committee. You might remember a map that we showed the community and said, this is what we want to do. We're still at, 10 years later, we're still looking at those projects saying, okay, we told the community we're going to do it, so we better get it done. So we're out there actually looking at that map saying we still need to get those done from the ballot issue. Can't remember what year that was, 2009, 8, 9 or yeah, so it's taken quite a few years, but we're still working on those. So right now it's a gravel street or road, and we want to turn it into a paved street. Also downtown alleyways, we're looking at the cost of doing some work on the alleyways, because for some of the downtown businesses, we told them that was a project we wanted to do, we just couldn't get to it right away. So we are working on those, and you may see some of those actually in the budget for this upcoming year for your approval. Let's see, IT privatization. That is Del Colrick is doing all of our IT work right now, and he's very, very busy, and he's having to shift from public works to going over to the police department, working on their computers. He starts going back to work, someone else calls him up from another department saying, hey, my computer's not working. So it's hard to shift back and forth. And then also down the road, if Dale were to retire, then who's going to do that work? So we want to start looking at some local businesses who do computer maintenance and internet maintenance, those type of things, and start doing that for us. So privatizing that versus it being done in-house. Next slide. Parks and Recreation. A lot of work being done here in Parks and Rec. Sunset Basketball Court, that was ready resurfaced. So if you go by there, it looks really good. It's important to note that the Petty's and the J&N foundations, they put the majority of the funds in for that project. There's also some playground upgrades that are going on or wrapping up at the VFW Park. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan, Lance was very focused on getting that grant application. I can't remember, Lance, was it $45,000 or $60,000 that GOCO's going to has granted to the city to do the master planning for parks and recreation for the next 5, 10, 20 years. And that process is really going to kick off probably in, say, about 60 days. We have about 30 or so more days of selecting the consultant for that. And then it's going to, shortly after that, turn into all the meetings and things like that to plan it all out. Golf course parking lot is complete, looks really, really good. Maximize every bit of space out there to get the most parking that you possibly could on a hillside. So that's looking really good. There's a few other small improvements we want to make. In the islands, those type of things, a little bit of landscaping, but it's looking good. Buildings by Design did a great job out there, and they also donated back to the city some improvements to the actual clubhouse. And so when you go up there, I wish we had pictures from 5 years ago, and then to put up to what it looks like today. But the golf course, when you drive up to it, is just as good as any other golf course you'll find around. A few small improvements on the interior, but everything else is looking really good. And in the future, we have to figure out an irrigation system out there. Probably a few other things. A few other small projects there, and one new one that we threw out there for Lance was some ADA improvements out at Doty Pond, and that's to get up to the east side of Doty Pond, like a ramp or something out there. We're looking into it now, and if we don't get to it this year, it'll probably be on the list for next year to construct some type of ADA structure out there at Doty Pond. And I think that's the last slide, Tyler.
I think there might be the fire department after, but I don't know if you want to say that.
Let's look at the fire department. I'm not.
Oh, you're right.
Yep. Okay, that was the last one. So I don't think we need to get a slide from them. So we don't have a slide from you guys.
Oh,
Fire
yeah, it was a
department.
picture of the fire department building, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, was it?
Which is
Okay.
for finance.
So we can turn back on the lights. That's just to get your minds going, because what's gonna happen is we'll come back next meeting and we'll show you a little bit more from other departments. But then we're gonna, shortly after that, have, not the same day, but within a few weeks after that, have a council retreat. The council retreat, what we do there is we go back through and we'll highlight some of these, but we'll say, okay, now which direction do you want to go? Before we get to the retreat, we will have some in-house staff meetings with department heads, and what we'll do is we will start putting together our recommendations to council. So you'll have council's recommendations, staff recommendations, and after we come out of that meeting, we shortlist everything. We get to a smaller condensed list like last time, a priority list, and that's how we focus the majority of our efforts. And then we always tell council that there's the things that we plan for, and we try and work on those. We try and get 80% of them done. Can't get everything done, but there's also the surprise elements, things that we're not aware of that we last minute have to throw into the planning process and try and get those done. So, any questions on any of those? All right.
Thanks for the update. Okay, mayor and council reports. Anybody have anything they want to bring out? Hearing none? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Work session in 2 minutes, please.